the Strength Beyond Struggle podcast and Ending the Silence program of the National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI, sponsored by Access. In every episode, we deal with difficult mental health topics, including suicide. So if you're struggling, remember, you can always get help by calling 988. Hey, welcome. And today I have with me Candice Miller. We're going to talk today about, she's had a previous podcast in talking about her depression, which it's a hard thing but her friends and family played a key role. And for a lot of people, asking for help is really hard. And so we're going to kind of talk to Candice about how that all worked out for her. So you were telling us in our other podcast that around the age of 12, you started noticing that normal activity is no longer kind of interested you like they used to. And by the time you were in high school, your grades were suffering, and that your mother had it been a little tough with your mother. She hadn't quite heard you, and a lot of parents are that way, but your friends really played a key role. And could you tell us, when did they first start helping you out and how?
Yeah, so I think I'm one of those stories that's actually really fortunate. I did grow up in a military town, basically, but because I don't know, I guess my mom was just lucky she didn't get like stationed all over the place. I guess during the time that I was in, because she's been everywhere. But I got to grow up with these friends, so I knew them for a long time. So they were very familiar, so they knew me when I was young and bubbly and sensitive or whatever. And so these kids, by the time I was in seventh grade, I had known them since first grade, so these are long-term friends. And so when I was going through it, I think I didn't understand, so I didn't know what to tell them, because I'm like, I'm dealing with this myself, so I don't know what to tell you. Like, I cry at times. So I think the main thing that I kind of expressed, or they could just see it. I think it was just unspoken. They could see that I was going through a hard time, but they never judged me. They supported me. I can say the one example I always use is, I remember they were just like, "Hey, Candice, do you want to go to the movies?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I would always say that I'm going, but the day of, I'd make up some excuse like, "Oh, I don't feel good. Oh, I have homework." Well, that day I was like, "Yeah, no, guys, I'm not gonna go." The actual day of, they're like, "You're ready?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not going." And they literally showed up to my house and were like, "You're going." And these were the type of friends that I had. And I was very, very, very fortunate to have them. And so even though I didn't open up and say, "Hey guys, yeah, I have depression," they actually were really supportive of me. And so I was super, super grateful for them. Yeah, that definitely helped me during that time, even in high
So
school.
even so, even you were saying that you didn't want to go. So the day, because depression, depression actually, it's actually painful for the brain. You're actually shutting down parts of the brain when you're depressed. And so it's hard to get out of bed, to take a shower, to do things. Did you find when your friends got you activated and moving that it actually helped your depression?
Yes, a lot
Mm,
actually.
mm,
If I didn't have the one friend, that would just make me laugh, they were just funny with who they are. I had
mhm.
another friend who was like, "Did you eat today? Hey, I bought you a burrito," or "Hey, I did this." And I'm just like, "No, I'm good." And they're like, "Girl, you got to try the burrito." And like, so I just always had people who were kind of
Wow.
just like pouring into me. And I don't even
Mhm.
think they realized how much they poured into me. So I was super fortunate with that. And I
Yeah.
think being in sports too, I did stay in sports. I think that was the one thing that helped me as well to get through, is that I had basketball, I had track. I could release whatever I was dealing with emotionally during practice. So I did kind of keep in touch with those friends, and I think that helped as well. But just in general, just they were amazing.
A lot of times kids say that when they, because a mental health condition is identified by the behavior. And so things are changing. You either act differently or you respond differently or something happens with your behavior. And so it sounds like, and a lot of times the kids will bully you, but it doesn't sound like you were bullied.
So in my high school years, I guess maybe because it just wasn't as big of a deal for me, because I was just like, this is my life. I think some kids would kind of say things like, "Oh, or you act like this, or you did it," and I was just kind of like, that's just me. Like, I've always advocated for myself, so I was like, I just didn't take it seriously because I was just like, I feel like whoever was making fun of me, they made fun of everybody. So I was just like, whatever, it's
That's
whatever
really
you're gonna
cool though
say.
that you had that wherewithal, because sometimes a lot of kids don't. They don't know how to set that boundary and say, "Hey, that's your problem, not my problem. I'm okay
Yeah,
with myself." So
yeah,
that's cool that you had that, and it sounds like your friends might have helped you a little bit with that because they fed back to you. And that's what I'm saying is that does is it important when you're going through a mental health condition to have a group of people, even if they're not your family, helping you out?
yes, yes.
Mm.
I think that is one thing that I have said. I think I tell everybody honestly, if they
Yeah,
allow me to
yeah.
say, is that connection is so important. I think that is the
Mm.
biggest thing with depression is that you feel disconnected, but
Oh.
it's really learning how to tell yourself that you're actually connected to everyone around you. So connection is super, 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 super important to me. To know that you're always a part of like a higher thing. Like there's always something that you're needed in. Someone needed your smile,
Mm.
someone needed your presence. I think that's so important. So yeah, connection to me is so, so, so important. And it doesn't matter who it is that you get the connection from, whether it be like a stranger you become friends with or
Mhm.
whatever it is. I think that that's really, really important, especially family if you have good family, you know.
Actually, the research shows that if you are a person that can make friends with like anyone, even the grocery store clerk, and when you talk to them and whatnot, it actually improves, gives you a boost of mental health positivity when you make that connection with another person. So you're absolutely correct. So it sounds like you struggled a bit when you were younger with your family understanding your struggles, and then later on it got better, and you were able to connect more with your family.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
So because I technically was like the first one in my family to kind of speak out like, "Hey, I'm not okay," and they kind
Mhm.
of looked at me like, "What is wrong with her? Like, what, get yourself together." And I'm just like, "I'm trying out here." But as I got older, I started realizing that a lot of my family members were dealing with depression. We actually all kind of suffered from it and we just dealt with it in different ways. And when we, had our arguments and got into it, we realized that we're fighting the same battle. You're just dealing with your depression differently than I am. And I didn't know that you were dealing with that as a kid. I'm so sorry. I've had those
Wow.
heart to heart conversations, whether it be with one family member to the next, especially I can say with my sister. It just really bonded us. We grew like this. I call her like my guardian angel because anytime I'm just like, oh, I'm just so upset. And I was like, should I call my sister? And I'm like, don't call her. You called her like a few days ago. Let her rest. She'll call me. She'll be like, I feel like I was
Really?
supposed to call you. Like, are you okay? And I'm just like,
Wow.
I'm okay. And she was like, okay, what's wrong? That's the type of connection, right? That me and her have. I can't even hide from her if I wanted to, because if I don't
Yeah.
answer, she'll text me what's going on, like
Mhm.
so I've been fortunate. So even those friends that I may have not like taken with me as, throughout my whole journey because we all got separated, we all went to
Mhm.
different colleges and that's just how that goes and your friendship group changes. That was something that I was fortunate to grow into with my sister. So as I
Mm.
became an adult, our relationship just really blossomed. And I was super shocked because I was like, I've always loved my sister and loved my family, but for us to connect in that way, I just feel super fortunate because I know if I have anything going on, if I'm depressed, if I need just a positive word, whatever it is, I can just call her and I can hear my little niece and nephew, my nieces in the background, and it just her presence in general that can just make me feel better, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, I have a sister too, and nobody understands your weird childhood like your sister.
You know how you explain it, you're just kind of like, remember this? Isn't it kind of crazy? She said, I was there. Like, no, it's not crazy because I went through the same thing. We feel the same. And I'm like, oh
But actually, I have to be
yeah.
honest, my sister helped me to get clear on some of the memories I had because I had memories of my childhood. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not really how it happened. And I interpreted it in a way that made me hurt. And then when she told me what was going on, I'm like, oh, I was actually a rock star. Whoa. So but to have that I mean, it's to be open and vulnerable, to be honest in front of friends or family about how you're honestly feeling. Did you just didn't have it because you just felt so bad you didn't know what else to do, or what was it that pushed you to get past that fear of opening up to others?
Um, I think it's just having the hard conversations.
Mm.
I've always been, I guess people can say, confrontational. I know that has its good
That's a
and
really
bad
negative
sides,
word.
you know. I've run into, I think it's just I rather maybe instead of saying confrontational, I like to get to the root of things.
Okay.
I've always
Yes.
been that way my whole life.
Hmm.
I want to know why I'm feeling this way. I want to know why a relationship is not good. I want to know these things so we can get past it, because I can feel a lingering something, and let's just handle it and then move on, right?
Uh-huh.
So I think that was what kind of helped. And then I think just life. We just had life experiences that, someone may judge you for going through, and then they end up ending the same thing. So it kind of happened
Mm.
in my family where they're like, oh, and then it kind of happened to them and they're like, oh. And then they dealt with the same thing, and I was like, "Yeah, it's okay. This is how you're feeling. This is what you're going through. You're gonna get through
Mm.
it." And we were able to kind of have those conversations, But I can say that I've always been outspoken about these problems. So it worked against me at first because they're like, "Oh, Candice, here she go," and I'm like, "Yeah, but
Yep.
I'm," you know. But now they're just, I think, even still, we're really like, we may not speak on every single thing, but I can say, at least with between me and my sister, it's very, I'm not feeling okay, or, sometimes I have something to say to her. I'm like, that kind of hurt my feelings when you said that, or I don't
Hmm.
like when you do this. And, we still have those conversations. And
Right.
I think it's just really helped us. We're just very
But you feel
transparent.
safe, but you feel safe in that conversation. That's what I'm saying is that, relationships are about dealing with the conflict. And it sounds like, in a way where you keep both sides have respect in what's going on. And I know mental health can be incredibly emotional conversation for families, especially parents with their kids. But how wonderful that has your sister been able to help with you, with your family, and to communicate to them better and feel safer with your family?
Um, yes and no. I think it's like right now, I think the main thing is that me and her relationship is really really solid,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we both helping each other right now, so then we can maybe try and implement it more within the rest of the family. But it's still kind of hit or miss, with the whole family, because it still is something that they're not completely open and out about as much as I am, which is completely fine. But even just the fact that we can have the conversation, kind of even talk about some of the things that I had to deal with growing in my past because of,
Mm-hmm.
not being heard, or, not being advocated for. We've been able to kind of have this conversation. So it has helped, but it's a slow process, a very, very slow process. But I'm grateful because we're completely different from what we were when I was younger. We never talked about it. If we
Hmm.
feel super sad, we go to our rooms. We don't, that just wasn't it. But now we can kind of talk to each other,
Pick up the
So
phone and say, "Hey, I need some support and help." And your sister will say, "Hey, I'm there for you right now."
yeah,
And
yeah,
is that really important to your mental health healing?
very much so, very, very much so. Because again, it's just a lot of things too with depression is you always feel like you're a burden. You always feel guilty. You feel guilty for feeling sad, or guilty for feeling like you have to step away because everything just feels too much for you to handle. And people don't understand that, So um when people reach out to you, or people you see that people still love you, it's like, wow, like, I'm going through this, but I'm realizing it's just in my head. Even though I had to step back, they have their own lives that they're living. So they were just doing what they needed to do, and they don't love me any less because I had to do that. And just because I deal with this doesn't mean that I'm less of a person, And so yeah, it's completely shifted my mindset with that, and it's very important.
So because it sounds like to me, I mean, I am also a peer myself with mental health. And I have found when I can find those people that I communicate with where I feel safe, where I'm not being judged for how I feel or the thoughts I have. And I'll go to them and say, hey, I just need to look at this a different way. Because that's a lot of mental health, isn't it? Just kind of saying, maybe I can come at this from a different perspective that doesn't make me feel so depressed, right? Is that what your sister and friends help you with?
Yes, yes. They definitely have. I can say my sister is, I just love the way that she thinks. To be honest with you, she has
Mhm.
such a very non-judgmental way. I feel like you could tell her anything and she would just understand the pain behind what you did, even if it was bad, you know? And so
Mhm.
I think she's helped me to realize with myself, like, wow, you know, we don't even have to say depression. Let's just say, hey, I'm just feeling really sad lately. Or she'll be like, no, you're lacking in self-care. What have you been doing to take care of yourself? You
Uh-huh.
know, or
Uh-huh.
no, have you drank water today? Have you eaten?
Mhm.
Have you done the normal things? And I was like, you know what? I haven't eaten in a few hours or a few, and she's like, well, that's probably what's causing it. So let's work on that. And then, if you're still feeling sad,
Wow.
so yeah, she's helped me to shift my mindset. So I even sometimes I don't even think about it as depression. I just think about it as, you know what? It's not a good day, or there's just something I see it as like a spiritual thing too. It's just like, hey, my body's really screaming that it needs something, even if it's
Mm.
some sleep, because sometimes you're just sleep deprived. Sometimes, like you said, just disconnecting from the 9 to 5 to the day to day. Sometimes you just need to go sit at the park or whatever it is, however small it is, it matters to you, or you need to read more, or eat better foods. It's just a way for it to speak, to me. So I'm like,
To
okay, I
fill
don't.
your cup, kind of, right? Fill your cup.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And so,
So
is your sister one of those people that's good at giving you permission to do that? Because we women are not good at self care. Just saying.
yes, she is. She is. It's funny because she struggles with it herself, and I'm just like,
Mm.
okay, but like you do so much. And she was like, yeah, but I just don't know when I'm tired. I'm like, I think taking care of kids and working and doing all that is a lot.
Yes, just a little bit. Yeah, that's
Just
a
a smidge.
lot.
I guess so. That's how she takes it. So it's just I
So
think
you
it's a
hold each other
balance.
accountable for your self care.
Yes, all the way
That is
around.
so
Yeah.
awesome, a
Yeah.
self-care buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've started to find those too. Like I'm doing a yoga class with a friend of mine and we're holding ourselves accountable. And it's just, I don't know why in this country, our culture says, you got to work yourself until you're like bone tired. And I know in Asia they do that. And like in Japan, they've done studies on people just, you know, flat out and you just exhaust yourself and you can't do good if you don't feel good. But it sounds to me as I'm listening to you that it's hard for you to do that.
Yes, 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 it is.
Do you have
Yeah,
some favorite things that are self-care things that you do?
to be honest, I like to do meditation. At, at first I was like, who just wants to just sit for 5 minutes to not? I was like, my mind will not stop thinking, but it does actually.
Mm.
Eventually, you just get to that point where you're like, oh, you're in Zen, and you feel good. And I was like, okay, meditation actually really helps me a lot. I could say too, I am a music head, so I'm always listening to music. So music sometimes just helps me, especially sometimes if you're in certain moods. I realize listening to certain types of music, I just love to hear the beat. I love to hear the emotion evoking from whoever it is. So it actually really helps me as well. As simple as that sounds, it is really healing for me.
Well, actually,
And
I've done
journaling.
another. Yeah, journaling. So well, I'm a
I was
writer
like,
too.
how did
But
I
I
forget
wanted to
journaling?
say about music. I do have a podcast on music and how it helps. Even the frequency you tune the music to can help.
Yep.
Um, you're
I'm
calm
all
you
into that
down.
too.
Yeah, yeah. So awesome to know about music. And then you said with journaling. So how do you use journaling?
Oh, journaling. See, I don't even understand how I did not speak about this earlier. Journaling is what helped get me through because I was very introverted. I think I'm still maybe
Mm.
a little bit introverted, but
You're
I'm
working on that.
um, Journaling helped me to just release everything that I just felt like I wanted to express to someone. Maybe if I were to break down everything that I just want to just get out, I could just express through journaling. And even to this day, it's still just like it's actually evolved. So first I
Hmm.
used to journal and just write. Now I have all types of journals where it's called bullet journaling. It's a whole community. So if you go on YouTube and look up bullet journaling,
Bullet journaling. Cool.
bullet journaling. Yes, it
Okay.
is so amazing. You can use it to organize your life. You can it brings out your creativity. Like you have to see it. I have all types of brush
But
pens and
again, you went online and it was
yeah.
people telling you and sharing with you and this connections. It sounds like throughout the conversation we're having today that just people, the connection with people, the finding those people that support you, finding those people that say, I'm going to hold up a mirror and Candice, I love you and you need to be nicer to yourself. It sounds like that's been a really critical aspect of your recovery and your balance. Is that a correct understanding?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really has, I think. And then we do live in a society that kind of makes it hard to, focus on that self-care that we actually need to learn how to speak to ourselves correctly. So I think it takes everybody a long time to learn that. I think it's a lifelong thing. You just have
Yes.
to know in a situation if something's going wrong, it's okay to be overwhelmed. Hey, it's okay how you're like just talk to yourself, I feel like I'm talking to my inner child. That's how I look at it. How would you talk to a child? So if a child is upset, are you going to scream at them? Are you going to belittle them? No, you're going to acknowledge how they're feeling. And then that
Mhm.
normally will calm the child down, So that's normally how I tend to try and talk to myself now. And I can say it's helped me significantly because I'm like, oh wow, I actually handled that situation really good. Like I'm proud of myself because normally I would have acted like this or whatever. And just the self-care, like I'm telling myself I don't have to feel guilty for wanting to do something that's good for me. You should never feel guilty for doing something like that. So
So
yeah.
does your sister and your support group, do they also reinforce that message to you?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. They're like, take care of yourself because, just those times where, I'll work so hard to where I'm like, I was in bed all day. I didn't understand why. And they're like, you're only doing this, that. And they name like five, six things. And I was like, I'm doing all that? And they're like,
Oh, there you
and
go. Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, they help, keep that mirror, to me and showing me like, hey, like, yeah, and that you're okay. You don't have to be superwoman and you don't have to save the world, just as long as you're taking care of yourself. By you taking care of yourself, you're actually helping make the world a better place. People think that's overrated, but it's really not. When you take care of yourself, you come out in the world and you present yourself in a way that just is the way that you would love to, and people are attracted to authenticity, so they're going to be attracted to you just because of your energy and your light because you take care of yourself. So even though it sounds small, it just has such a profound and big change, to
But
society.
you didn't always take care of yourself and you didn't always have this sort of self-talk that was, are you finding as you opened up to others and you were vulnerable about your needs with mental health and everything, did you find that it was kind of a symbiotic almost relationship where you're being vulnerable, they're reinforcing that you need this, and it makes you better and you just keep getting better and better and better? Is that what you're finding happening? Because I'm trying to give people permission to say, you're not alone and it's okay to reach out to people that you feel safe with or that you
Yeah.
need help from. Because some
Yes.
people have told me that when they reach out, they get ignored.
I can say it is a double-edged sword, to be honest with you, because there are going to be some people where one thing I've learned too is people can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. And so a lot of people cannot talk to you about their mental health because they don't talk about theirs. So when you open up to them, they don't know how to react because they don't even know how to handle theirs. So sometimes I've had to learn that. Like, when people don't know how to react to you, it's perfectly fine. That's
Mhm.
fine. You have to understand that it's not about you. It's more so about them, and that they just don't understand. But you will find that person who does understand you. But you speaking up is still affecting them. You don't know what that did to that person.
Mhm.
And maybe in the future, maybe you guys can start talking more, like, hey, when I first opened up to you, when you opened up to them, they didn't know what to, I didn't know what to say. But now, since we talked about it, it made me think, and I don't handle my mental health as well. And you guys can go back and forth. And then now you've created a relationship with someone that at first they may have not been as open or understanding, or you felt like they were judging you, but they just didn't understand. So I think it's so important, so important to speak up. Because then what happens too is people will become attracted to what you're saying and what you're doing. I think that's just how this universe works. I feel like is that you kind of attract those type of things. And I
No,
think,
absolutely.
yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to attract those type of people around me.
Supportive
um
people.
Everywhere I've gone, to be honest, I recently
Hmm.
just noticed this. I was like, so you're telling me I had this person and then this person and then I was like, oh my God, I'm so lucky and I'm so blessed to be able to have had these people. And it may have not been forever, it may have been for a short while, but I needed them at that time in the capacity that they could give to me, and I'm so grateful. So yeah, it's so good to speak
Do
up
you
and speak.
have any stories or like a little anecdote that you could give us of asking for help so that it might help our listeners if they're in a similar situation, kind of to know what to do or what to ask or how to respond? Because I know a lot of us with mental health conditions struggle with relationships because our families didn't necessarily exhibit good behaviors. Family trauma, family generational, behavior patterns are hard. So, how would you suggest, or could you tell us a story about how you found someone to trust and talk to?
I think I have a lot of those stories
Do you have a favorite one?
because um let me see. Yeah, actually, I have a lady. I don't know why I call her lady. I call her my friend because I meet a lot of mentors, like people who are
Mm,
older than me. And I was kind of actually scared to open up to her a little bit, but we had a relationship. We met inside the church and everything.
mhm,
Had a good relationship. But I think she could see that I was struggling, and I didn't really know how to open up to her. I was like, I kind of want to, but I don't know. And eventually she kind of led the conversation to open up. She said, "Hey, I've just been going through this," or, "Hey, I've been seeing you. I've been noticing," and then eventually I was able to open up and I said, "Yeah, I've been kind of struggling with this and I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how
mhm,
to get through it." And she supported me. I remember she drove because I was up in Phoenix in school at this time, and she drove all the way up to Phoenix. She came to see me, took me out to eat, and she supported me. So then when I graduated, me and her both almost were just crying. She was like, "Oh my God, look at what you've come from!" And if I wouldn't have opened up to her, because at first I was a little nervous to open up, but I decided, I was like, if she judges me, she'll just judge me, but
mhm.
she really didn't. She really was just so loving and caring, and we still talk
Mm.
now. And
Oh.
actually, speaking of, I need to talk to her because I just went back to school, and she said, if you go back and get your master's, I'm gonna go back and get mine. So I'm gonna have to talk to her
Wow.
'cause,
That
yeah,
is
I just
so
started school that
cool.
last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to let her
To
know.
have that, and that energy of sharing with people is just life affirming, isn't it? It just makes you feel like you're a good person. And then when you get those people aren't like, what a beautiful story that lady was so supportive of you. What a gift she gave you. That's gorgeous. I loved it. Thank you.
Yes, yes, invaluable. Yeah.
And so could you give a story of what people might want to watch out for when reaching out to people, when to be cautious and say, maybe this isn't working out?
I say energy is your best friend. So if you are feeling that the person is off, don't open up to them, because you already you're feeling apprehensive, you're
Mm,
feeling like they're not a good. It doesn't even matter if the person might seem good to other people. It matters
Mm-hmm.
on how you feel, because I, I've gone against that before, of maybe opening up
Ah,
to someone where I didn't feel like maybe I could trust them, and it kind of got thrown back in my face.
huh.
And it actually really hurt.
Yeah.
It really hurt. I'm not gonna lie. But if
Learning
it's not,
experience, I guess. Not all learning
yeah,
experiences are comfortable. Mm-mm.
I think it's really important for you to listen to yourself, because you'll find that person that you know that you can open up to. And the thing is, sometimes you don't even have to find them. Sometimes they'll come to you and you'll feel it because the way that they talk to you, because sometimes people will just open that door. They'll speak on a subject, or they'll say something like, "Yeah, I've just been struggling." You're like, "Oh, I've been struggling too. Like what's been going on with you?" And then they'll open up, and then you'll open up, and then now, wow, look,
Just a feedback loop, hey?
yeah, that's
Awesome.
normally how it happens to me, because I've always just been so outspoken, probably too outspoken. Probably,
No, I think you're lovely. I think you're perfect.
thank you, but I don't know. It's just not hard for me even to like tell a stranger how you doing. I don't know. I'm a little stressed. They're like, really? What's going on? And then I done made a friend, because it's
Yeah.
just that's just how I am. I've always been like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I've been fortunate to come across so many wonderful people. But even for those who are like nervous to open up, I think the people who are there for you, that, whether it be friends or family who's just always there for you, you can probably open up to them. But if you don't feel safe, I always say the one person you can open up to as well is like a therapist. Therapists
Uh,
are meant to be there to help you and not judge you. If anything, therapists can help give you a different perspective, or even offer more insight on what you're going through. So it's completely fine to open up to a therapist if you don't feel safe to open up to anyone around you, and there's always
well,
hotline.
and that's a good point. If you don't feel safe to talk to your therapist, then that's not the right therapist.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I've
Yeah.
had those too. Oh my gosh, have I
Wow.
had some of those who just, they were actually, I was
You felt
surprised that they were
worst.
allowed to be a therapist because of how bad it was just not a good experience. And I just left feeling like,
Hmm.
is there something wrong with me? Like, what?
Oh,
So
yeah.
but they make for better experiences. I feel like there's always a lesson to learn. So as long as you realize, well, that's what I don't want in a therapist, at least now you know.
Yeah, exactly. And so just don't give up. And that's the other thing. And just keep trusting that your people are out there. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, yes. I don't know. I guess I believe in that more as I get older. It's just that whatever you're seeking is seeking you. So if you're seeking
Mm.
help, you will get the help. It will come in whatever form. You just have to be open to what form it may be, because it might not be what you're originally thinking, but you never know, it could work out better for you. So I always have said that. Well, not always, but just recently I will tell
Yeah, yeah.
everybody, whatever you want, whatever are desiring, it's desiring you as well. So
That's powerful. And thank you for telling us your story about being with friends and being vulnerable and open with how you feel, what you need. Is there anything you'd want to tell our listeners about, getting their support system and finding their people that you haven't said already?
I know. I think I think I've said all of it. It's just like you will find your people, because I thought that was an issue too growing up, that like I had my friends, but then as I got into that college age, it's just kind of weird, because you'll be really close with someone and then you kind of fall out, and then you're just like, oh, I thought this was going to be my friend forever. And then it just happens like that as you're an adult. And I'm just like, am I ever going to find my people? And then slowly but surely, you just start meeting the right people and they click and they stay. There's going to be people who don't, but there are going to be some that do. There's going to be more that don't than do, and you have
Mhm.
to be okay with that process, learning how to let go. And it will happen. It will happen. So,
Well, you've been an incredible example. I've watched you the last couple of years working with Ending the Silence. And now you're the youth coordinator for the whole state of Arizona. And
yes.
your skill at building relationships, I think, has changed that whole program. So I want to thank you for all the work you're doing with our youth presenters. And thank you for coming on this podcast today and giving people hope that connection can really help on your mental health journey.
For sure. For sure. No, thank you for having me. I always love speaking with you, Michelle.
Depression, feeling worthless, hopelessness. Candice faced all those dark thoughts, but she came through the storm. Now she's thriving, laying claim to her best life. She credits the friends who paid attention. They called to check on her, made her get out of bed, and made her feel connected and valuable. And that should be a lesson to us all, both we who have struggled and our friends and loved ones who didn't know what to do. It turns out loneliness and a lack of social support are deadly. Yes, years of research shows that loneliness can kill. In fact, isolation and a lack of social support takes as many years off your life as smoking cigarettes, diabetes, and other chronic health conditions. Moreover, feeling lonely and isolated goes hand in hand with many mental health challenges. Loneliness increases the odds you'll get depressed and anxious. It increases the chance you'll develop schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and schizoaffective disorder. Tragically, the lack of social support makes symptoms worse and recovery harder for all those conditions. Consider the results of a massive analysis of 34 major studies. The results were published in the scientific journal BMC Psychiatry. The findings included loneliness is just as big a killer as obesity, smoking, and lack of physical activity. Loneliness increases the risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, chronic pain, immune system problems, stress, and sleep quality. And people with most major mental health conditions are up to 10 times more likely to say they don't have social support. I could go on, but check out the studies on the Strength Beyond Struggle website. The lesson is clear. If you're suffering, reach out. Don't do it alone. That just makes it worse. And if someone you care about is in trouble, don't wait. Reach out to them. That's what saved Candice. Those friends who kept calling. And all the research confirms it works even when dealing with serious mental health conditions. Now, Candice tells the story of how her friends helped in classrooms around Arizona. So don't suffer in silence and don't remain quiet. Let's end the silence together.
It's okay to just be me. We're all made to be unique. It's okay to have my needs. It's okay to be me. What's easy for others are struggles for me. I do things differently. Doesn't make me broken. It just makes me me. People out there help me through, ones who care about me and you. Through my struggles I find my strength. Feels so good to be me. What's easy for others are struggles for me. I do things differently. Doesn't make me broken. It just makes me me. People helping me to get through have their own struggles too. Even though they have their strength, they are human like me. Through these struggles we build our strength. We all want to feel healthy. Even though we make mistakes, struggles build our strength.